All right, I forgot that was on mute for both you and
This,
me.
this is going to be a rough experience, all right? Brian's just getting his bearings back.
I just got a new laptop today. I don't even have my mic plugged in because I forgot. I need an adapter to use my USB interface, whatever. It's too much
It's
lingo
okay. Just make
for
sure that
this.
nobody in your house makes a fucking sound. It will be great.
Exactly. So I gotta use AirPods. If you guys think I don't have a microphone, that's my microphone for the show. With me today, we got Christian Hernandez. How you doing today?
Pretty
I
good,
can be
man.
your hero. By the
Yeah,
way,
no,
great. Like that name change, I think it came through finally.
I mean, I would say big W for Tyler. Before we get into, obviously, it's you and me today, so I'm sure we're gonna get into like the cap ramifications of his new extension. But first and foremost, congratulations to Tyler because he absolutely deserves it. I don't, I think it's debatable whether the contract's a little bit rich, but you got to remember he's what 22 years old. He's 22 years old, coming off a season where he averaged 20 points per game. That's a pretty rare thing. Obviously he's still got some
Let's
things to
bump that
work
up to
on.
21. That was like 20.7, 20.8.
You're right.
Let's just
I'm
average that to
selling him short,
21.
and I'm supposed to be, your hero. So, but yeah, big congrats to Tyler. I think
No,
it's, I think it's
you
exciting,
probably
honestly, Brian, because if they had planned to really move him sometime in the near future, like the next, 2 to 4 months, I really doubt he's getting this extension. So
I
he's
agree.
clearly showing the team something.
I agree. I think part of the reason why they didn't is because they spent a whole offseason trying to trade him. Obviously, we knew that Miami was in two different trade rumors at the time for both. Well, really, it was like Kevin Durant pursued, and I think Donovan Mitchell to a very much lesser extent. Um, and none of those deals manifested because, in large part, I think Miami didn't have the first round picks to make any of those deals, um, along with Tyler, and they had to toss in at least one of the bad contracts that they had, which was either Duncan or Kyle Lowry. And I think in order to facilitate that kind of deal, you needed the picks to kind of sweeten that pot, and they didn't have it, and then they're not going to have it for at least a couple more seasons, just because they have these protections with OKC, which we can get into later. I think they actually did that conversation the last pod I was in because I know Gianni texted me about it. So I won't actually get into any details in that, but let's just get to the gist of what happened yesterday that we are finally able to discuss that Tyler Herro agreed to his 4-year extension. Now it's 4 years and not 5 years because he didn't sign a max rookie extension deal, which if you can recall, it's the same deal that Bam signed. It's the same deal that Ben Simmons signed. It's the deal that Donovan Mitchell signed. It's that deal that they basically couldn't have used him in order to trade him to a team that already had like a designated rookie max extension player. So had
Correct.
Tyler signed that same deal that Bam did, and then they wanted to still like send him out to the Nets next season, say Kevin Durant wants to get traded next year, and he still wants to come to Miami, and Miami wants to use Tyler as one of those contracts to move. They wouldn't be able to do it the same way they couldn't do it with Bam unless they brought in Ben Simmons back. So because he signed a 4-year deal that wasn't a max contract, um, he signed a 4-year, $130 million extension. 10 million of that's actually built in with incentives. We don't know what those incentives are
I was
still. I've
gonna
been
ask
waiting.
you. I was just
I'm
looking
still
on
waiting to see
Spotrac.
what they are. Yeah, I was looking at Spotrac today too. I
Yeah,
don't
they're
think
just
it came
listed as
in.
unclassified.
They're
I
unlikely
believe it's
bonuses.
unlikely bonuses. Yeah.
So they're unlikely bonuses. Miami still has to consider that with their salary cap, just because with unlikely bonuses, they can still be counted towards the luxury tax. It's kind of the same thing what happened when they had the last time they added unlikely bonuses to contracts that I can recall was James Johnson, Kelly Olynyk, and Dion Waiters, and all of them had surprisingly all of them had performance in terms of the games played, and I believe James Johnson was the only one that had like a body fat percentage.
I would. I mean, God, I really would love to see the fine print that the Heat throw into specific contracts, and if it varies too, it might just be like a culture template. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That has a bunch of things that you got to do. You got to maintain certain standards, but who knows? Maybe
I
for
think.
certain guys, they add a little bit extra to make
Well,
sure
I
they're
mean,
motivated.
so unlikely incentives in the NBA, the way they kind of work is like if you haven't done it, then it's unlikely because you haven't done it yet. I think the
Right.
easiest one for Tyler that he could get that extra 10 million, and it might just be like a gradual. It's not gonna be like all 10 million, at once. He'll probably have like one that's $1 million, 2 million, 3. Like they'll probably
Well, yeah,
gradually up
it says
that
that
to him.
there's $2.5 million per season of
Oh, okay.
unlikely bonus incentives. So yeah, so
I
it's
have to
probably the
imagine.
same thing each year, I would imagine.
Yeah, I have to imagine one of them's probably like an all-star game,
Probably.
something like that.
Maybe a title bonus of some
I
kind.
highly doubt there's one for like another Sixth Man of the Year award. I imagine his like agent didn't want to put that in writing.
I mean, he's trying to be a starter, so I don't know if that makes a lot of sense.
So
The
I
clause is
highly
no
doubt that one's
cereal.
in there.
Shit, Alf's here?
There's a no cereal clause.
Let's welcome in Alphonse, Sidney, aka Alf954, onto the Miami Heat Beat podcast. Alf, how are you doing? Welcome.
The Heat won tonight.
Damn right they did.
They had to win. One of them won, one of them lost. We'll get into those details later on Scrimmage from the Heat.
I can't wait to talk about Scrimmage now.
But we're talking about the Tyler Herro extension, and we were just talking about like the numbers and all the incentives and stuff. But Alf, you first see this news come in yesterday on your Twitter timeline. Your first reaction is what?
Of course. It was so dumb. What are people surprised by? He was going to get his extension. The second he didn't get traded, he was going to get his extension. Like, we all knew that. Like, this uproar, this, like, people, oh, this signals to Jimmy that they're not serious. Shut up. Like, what are we doing? Like, you have the sixth man of the year. He's coming, he's due his rookie extension. You see what these other guys are getting. Tyler Herro is better than most of these guys. Like, stop. Like, we forgot, like, last year, he was our best player for stretches. I mean, weeks at a time. Like, when everyone else is down with injury, or you're coming in 26-12 with 3 minutes left in the first, and all of a sudden it's 26-22. That was Tyler Herro every time. Like, what are we doing? Like, let's stop. Like, I don't know, man. I think fans, not just fans, I think media, like, you're watching all over the NBA, people are overthinking this thing. You have a guy like Tyler Herro, he's up for his rookie extension. You extend him. You pay him his money. And he's making less than the max. Like, I'm not saying it's a deal or it's a bargain, but he got his market value. Like, I just don't get it. Like, what? Like, this whole idea, people are upset. Like, get out of here.
I mean, I feel like a lot of it, too, is just how big these contracts are these days. Let's face it. 90% of people fucking hate math, right? So they just see big number, holy crap, is he that good, So I think that's definitely part of it.
Someone said he's not worth $30 million. And it's like, okay, first of all, like, I don't even think he's getting $30 million the first year. I don't even know how it's constructed. But, like, what do you mean he's not worth $30 million? Like, what is 30?
I'm sorry, Schmeethan Schmolnick just said, why is Christian's forehead shinier than the hardwood at FTX? You've said this like 3 times, my guy. It's called facial cleanser, CeraVe. Buy yourself a bottle. You're welcome. Sorry.
Sponsor us.
That is pretty rough. I mean, Jesus.
What were you saying?
No, I'm just.
What kind of moisturizer do you use?
CeraVe, baby. Sarah.
Oh, you got the whole lineup. You got a sponsorship deal with them.
Yeah, no, I really should sponsor.
That shit looks like extra virgin olive oil. What are you talking about?
I literally just showered.
You moisturize with Pam. Jesus Christ.
Max on, max off.
Bro, all I hear is jealousy. All right, that's all I hear.
But anyway, yeah, like fabulous.
All right.
Christian so fabulous. And that just reminds me, we had that Precioso shirt for like a hot minute before he got traded.
It was a great shirt.
I think only two people bought it.
Which one was that?
The one that we had Precious.
Oh god!
But it said Precioso. Oh, and I had it in the purple color. It was exactly like the purple Fabuloso. That was great. I sold their font. They never sued us, so I'm happy.
But listen, just Tyler's extension. He was gonna get it. I don't know why anyone is surprised. I feel like Twitter nowadays and just NBA fandom in general is like just waiting for the thing to happen that you knew was gonna happen so that you can be outraged. And it's like, why are we outraged by? Like, we make fun of the Knicks for. I think RJ Barrett was the first time they've extended a rookie since Charlie Ward.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, like, listen, man, like you do redrafts of the last time the Heat like picked at the back of the lottery. Between Bam and Herro, you had 2 top 5 picks. Like, you have to re-sign those guys. You have to lock them up. It is what it is. Like, and I know everyone thinks it cripples their chances to make any other moves. I don't know. Brian probably explained why it does.
Listen, they weren't going to make any moves in terms of free agents because they didn't have no cap space, regardless if they signed or didn't sign Tyler. Like, it just was never going to be a possibility for them to go after a free agent unless they went to sign and trade route, which, I mean, I don't even think next year's free agent class is all that realistic because I think the only guy that maybe I would have considered, and it was like a long shot, was maybe LeBron, but he signed his extension too. Like, and that's what happens with all these guys nowadays. Like, any superstar that becomes even remotely close to being a free agent, they end up getting just an extension for like 2 or 3 years, and then that's it. They basically have to go out after him in the trade route. The last guy we went after was Kyle Lowry, and like he's not a superstar, so that's why we were able to do a sign trade for him. But Jimmy Butler, I mean, we knew that he didn't want to stay in Philly, and his whole situation was way different than some of these other disgruntled stars that we've seen come up.
Signing a free agent in this space now is just doesn't happen like it used to.
No.
What Brunson was signed into space, right?
Yeah, and he was the best free agent this past offseason.
And that's the kind of guy
that moved.
That's the kind of guy as a free agent that's going to be a free agent, and that's the kind of guy you're going to sign into space. And honestly, it's just I don't understand why people are upset. I don't understand why people are surprised. I still think they have what it takes to make a move by the trade deadline. If they feel like whether they feel like they're one piece away, whatever it is, I do think they still have what it takes to make a move.
Well, okay, from that perspective, Alf, who do you think is on the hottest seat?
Out of the guys on the roster, I mean, I think you said it best. It's Kyle and Duncan. Like, listen,
I just wanted you to say it.
Oh, yes. Listen, first of all, as much as I love Duncan, a lot of it is shtick. I like the guy, whatever. But it's not as it's and I like his shooting. I like the fact that he's big, and that that's about it.
You don't like his podcast?
I've never heard it.
You got to, man. It's part of our Blue Wire podcast network.
Oh yeah, Blue Wire.
Shout out the long shot.
But yeah, I think you're right, man. Like Duncan, Kyle, like those are the guys who like they have something to prove this year. Less so Kyle. I just think the Kyle thing is overblown. But I think he wants to prove that he's worth $30 million. I think Duncan wants to prove that he's worth 19. And I don't know what Duncan can really do to save himself, right? Like if they're going to make a move, it's not even Duncan could be playing out of his mind, but if the move comes around that needs to be made, Duncan's contract is the one you need. Like, you know what I mean? Or Kyle's, but I don't see, maybe Kyle's playing poorly, but Duncan's contract is the one you need that's going to get you to the dollar amount you need to make a real big trade. So
yeah, I mean, even if it ends up being something like a salary dump. I mean, Brian, I feel like just so that the audience can kind of fully grasp this, can you pull up the cap table for next season? Because I feel like I understand it's it's kind of tomorrow's problem, but
yeah,
it's part of the reason why the Herro extension, when taking it into account with the rest of the team, is a pretty significant move because it really complicates their flexibility moving forward.
But didn't we do this with Bam's extension too?
Well,
I mean, I don't think their cap situation.
No, but I mean, people were crying, "Oh, it takes you out of the Giannis running." Like,
but this is different because back then Miami had cap space, and they still had cap space to go after Kyle Lowry. They were just short a couple $1 million. That's why they went the sign and trade route. But they could have still signed him to cap space if he would have taken a smaller discount on that first year of his deal. But if Bam had ways to sign his extension, Miami had the space to do any basically signing for any max level free agent. At the time, we were all thinking Giannis was going to be the one that Miami was going to target. Obviously, he signed his extension. Like I've been saying all along, all these massive free agents are going to sign their extensions no matter what. They just want that money right away.
So what's this big deal? I mean, what's the big deal about space anyway?
Herro is that Miami's not even going to have any space. Miami's way over the salary cap as is right now. And now this is Miami's first time that they're actually pushing the limits of going into luxury tax. And every time you go into luxury tax, you're paying – there's different levels of it. I have to figure out where Miami's going to stand pretty soon.
Mickey's got it.
But it becomes more than just $1 for dollar. At some point, it becomes like $1.5 for dollar. And it gets higher and higher. Like Golden State's paying almost $4 per dollar that they go over to luxury tax, which at that point, a $15 million deal that's over the luxury tax, or even a minimum contract ends up being worth $10 million.
Yeah.
But
So
like, why?
that's
But
where it gets tricky.
why do we care?
Well, Miami hasn't had to do it yet. The last time Miami was a luxury tax team. Well, that's the thing. The last time Miami was a luxury tax team was when they got Jimmy Butler, and they barely won over. They were only over because they were hard capped to make that deal happen, and they were only over by like $5 or $6 million at the time. Before
So there's
that,
no
it was the big three, and
so there's
during
no
that
repeater
time,
tax. There's no repeater tax issue, right?
Well, not
yet.
this year or
Not,
next year.
not
for
this
sure.
year or
Yeah.
not next season, but it
So-
probably would be an issue in about four years starting next year.
Dude, they always use some cap magic to get under the. It's fine, like whatever.
Yeah, and then, I mean, obviously, I can't predict the future because obviously the salary cap can go up a lot. The TV contract's supposed to be up for renewal, I think, in about 2 or 3 seasons, so that could change the mathematics on a lot of these contracts. Where Tyler's deal could look like a bargain in 4 years from now.
That's what
I
always
think that's
happens.
I think that's what the Heat are predicting. They locked him in now to salary cap rate. Well, really, it can go up if next season salary cap ends up going up by like $5 million. Then the $120 million that we're looking at right now for Tyler Herro's contract, or $130 if he gets the incentives, ends up being worth a little bit more because it's just tied to a percentage of the salary cap, what he's making.
Right.
That's what.
Actually, no, it's not true because he's not getting the max. No, actually, that's not true. He's not getting the max. No, actually, it's going to be this much no matter what. No matter what the salary cap goes in next year because he didn't sign for the max.
What Fig said.
That's interesting though. I didn't know that. So on a max contract, it actually scales with the exact percentage of the salary cap.
Yeah, because the max is the max. So if the salary cap ends up going up 5% next season, than what they projected, then yeah, basically the starting salary goes up an extra 5%. So is the total worth of the deal. But because Tyler didn't sign the max contract, this could look like even more of a steal if next year's projections end up being even greater than they were that they came, I think, this past month when they announced what the projections are for next season.
With
so
inflation,
that could be
with inflation, he won't even be able to rent an apartment in Miami. So,
but I want to get into this Albert tweet real quick, just to show you what exactly Tyler's contract is going to look like. So Tyler signed a 4-year, $120 million census for $130 million. It's $20 to $30 million less than max, depending on if he gets the incentives or not. So overall, in the course of the deal, he could have made an extra $30 million if he signed for the full max like Dan did when he was up for his extension, but he didn't. He would have been able to get a 30% max if he had opted out after year 3. So the cool thing about his contract is that year 4 that he has, there is no option on that year. So if he has like a crazy, if by year 4 and he should have been a free agent, Miami could have basically had him become a free agent that season had he had a player option. But because Miami locked him in for 4 years without a player option or even a team option for that matter, it could be a steal by that year 4. And that's around the time when that salary cap's supposed to spike. So I think by year 4, this deal could look like a massive steal. Because by then also, I think Tyler would be locked in, Bam would be locked in, or Bam might be a free agent that summer. But the only other players that would be like possible free agents would be Duncan would already be gone by then. Kyle would already be gone by then. And then Jimmy would basically be, I think, if not on the last year of his contract, he might also be a free agent too. Like basically Tyler could be looked at like the second highest paid player on the team. And it could be like a massive steal because the max contract by that season could end up being like almost $60 million. And he by that last year,
that's what we're going to give to Zion. So
yeah, so that's on there. And then also just wanted to mention that obviously like he could have been a restricted free agent and Miami could have waived to sign him, but because they didn't, that's basically what this tweet from Albert is going about. And then one last thing on here.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Is his starting base salary is 20% discount from the max. So
Christian, you were kind of not upset, but you were bemoaning the signing and saying it was kind of a signal that, you know, the team could not really, I mean, the core of the team was the core of the team. They couldn't make any moves. Like, where did that, like for you, where did that come from?
When can Tyler be traded now?
Next season.
Okay.
I mean, technically he could still get traded this season, but the only 2 teams that could make that work, and I did the math today, is it's going to be, let me pull up because I put a thing in our chat. So Tyler Herro, basically, if he gets traded, he's on a poison pill provision. He's not able to get traded for, I think, until December. Might be wrong in the actual timeline of when he can get traded. It might be a month later from when he just signed. But just for semantics, his outgoing salary is now going to be, instead of the $5.7 million that he's making this season, it's now going to be $5.7 million plus the average of the 4 years that he's going to be making, which you have to basically bump up to $130 million. So when I did the math, that ends up being an average of $27 million that his outgoing salary is for the team that takes him in. So Miami, letting him, if they trade him, would only be a trade match $5.7 million of that $27.1 million. So that's a difference of $21.4 million that a team has to take in as like salary cap space. They have to have space
right
to make that work. And the only 2 teams that have space over $24 million right now are really, they just need 21. And it could be less if they traded like a player or 2, but just to take in that space, the only 2 teams that could make that work is San Antonio and Indiana.
So basically, Tyler's not going anywhere this season, most likely.
Because there's no one on those 2 teams Miami would want to trade him for.
But did we think that Tyler was going to be traded by the deadline this year?
I mean, if you
had he not signed his extension, yes.
I mean,
I did.
Okay, this whole offseason, we've been operating under the assumption that the Heat's full focus was on Kevin Durant, right? So if they still even had an inkling that Kevin Durant could be available by the deadline, I feel like you don't see Tyler get this extension at this time.
And I think that pipe dream was done. That's the thing I just don't get. Like, I feel like that pipe dream was gone. Like the kind of moves we can make by the deadline, I think it's gonna take Duncan, it's gonna take Kyle, maybe a first round pick, something to get a power forward or another scorer in here. I guess that's where I was so confused, because I thought once Tyler made it through the Kevin Durant talks, it was done. He was going to get his extension.
I mean, I did too, but then why did it take like an extra month for him to get the extension? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know, man.
If all the other guys are getting 110 and he wants 130, or maybe he wanted 140, maybe he wanted 150. And maybe that's why it took all this time to get to 130.
I mean, I shared this yesterday, but I heard from a pretty reliable source back in June that Tyler's extension was basically already agreed upon. It's just that it wasn't actually offered. Where they were basically like, look, here's what we're going to give you, but we're just kind of seeing, what shakes out. Like, so I don't know. Like, I mean, I would love to spend some time going into like why it happened now. Does he look that good in camp? I sure hope so.
Christian, I think one of the reasons they wanted to see how you look coming out of camp. They wanted to see how his whole summer, his routine, everything that came back. Because obviously he had the disappointment in the playoffs. Obviously he came back from that injury from the Boston series with that groin injury. So he had to rehab that for a bit. But I mean, you see the reports of like he came into camp, with a lot more muscle than he did last season. He spoke very highly of how he basically needed to rework his body, especially his lower body, because it just broke down on him towards the end of the season. He said basically he lost like 10 pounds towards that last stretch. And a lot of players on the team felt the same way. So he felt like he needed to basically dive in even deeper into his weight training and strength training to be able to handle the course of a regular season, plus the postseason. I mean, Miami played over 100 games last season. And I just think that might be part of the reason why Miami waited. I think they wanted to see his body of work coming out of this camp too. And I think they also wanted to see if he realistically had a shot to be a starter. Because if you're paying him this amount of money, you better be damn sure that he could be a starter on this team.
Yeah.
I think all that's nonsense. I'm sorry, Brian.
I do just want to say, because you were asking like why I wasn't poo-pooing, but I was like, in my head, my concern is, what if this team underachieves this season? And then you're going into the offseason with 10 guys on the roster, and you're already $15 million over the luxury tax. That's also why when we were talking about Kyle and Duncan earlier, I feel like one of them is gone no matter what. And probably just a pure like salary dump move, because they have to clear up space.
Which is why, and they'll do it. Like, they do it all the time. And that's why I just didn't understand some of the hand-wringing. And I was just going to say, Brian, I don't agree with any of that, because, honestly, to me, if you were basing your extending Tyler Herro on the shape he came into camp in, that's crazy to me. Because, everyone, I mean...
Why? It's an investment.
But he came in camp in great shape last year.
It's a really big investment to be settling on. Is he muscular enough? And
yeah, like did he exercise over during the break? Like, come on. Like to me, there was a number they were trying to get to, and they had to figure it out. And probably Tyler wanted a little bit more. They wanted to give him a little bit less, and that's how negotiations worked out. We all, we've all heard things that Christian heard things that it was done. We've heard things in the past.
We knew it was going to be done too. We can't say why, but we knew it was done too. We just weren't sure why it took
exactly.
so long.
So what it didn't. He could have came into camp limping. They would have still gave him his damn extension. As long as he wasn't pregnant, I think he's fine.
But to Christian's point about the luxury tax, like Miami. So I'll show you. This is from Spoelstra. So all these numbers are legit. So Miami going into next season has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 players going into next season that they can bring back. He's on a non-guaranteed contract. So is Dwayne Dedmon. So this could be less. Could be 8 players. But regardless, like Haywood Highsmith is making almost the minimum, and so is Dedmon for a lesser extent.
I know those are actually cheap deals.
Yeah, those are cheap deals. But basically, Miami has at least up to 10 players or 8 players that they could bring in next year that are signed. And into Spoelstra's calculations with those 8 players, this is also counting cap holds. So those cap holds are worth minimum contracts. It's like the very minimum salary you can use to fill out the rest of the roster, which is 14 players that Miami has to sign, according to the NBA's CBA structure. But they're basically right now estimated to pay a $30 luxury tax bill because they'll be $15.5 million over the luxury tax. That's the most.
I guess that puts them in the 2 times range, right? Yeah.
Yeah. No, this would put them in the 1-time range. It's just every time you go over a certain threshold, that luxury tax gets higher and higher.
The second you go into the luxury tax, you pay double what you're in the tax?
Correct.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's $1 per dollar that you're already over the luxury tax.
Like honestly, they'll find a way to get under.
And then that's not to mention that Miami has 3, players that they would want to potentially re-sign next season. That it's Max Strus, Gabe Vincent, and then Yurtseven.
Yeah, Brian. All of them have $30
low cap holds.
I didn't want to correct him. Yeah, when you said you meant to say $30 million in luxury.
Oh, my bad. $30 million.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I can cover that.
The cruise industry isn't that bad. I mean, it doesn't.
I don't know. No, I saw some tweets today that say otherwise.
It's not pretty out. But anyway.
But yeah, basically, Miami's going to be like $30 million potentially in the tax with just the players that they have on this list. And if they want to bring back Gabe, if they want to bring back Yurt, if they want to bring back Max.
We have these conversations like they're not going to make any moves this year. That's the part that drives me crazy. That's the thing that Christian was getting into. Like, they have to make some serious decisions on what they want to do with Duncan's salary and what they want to possibly do with Kyle's salary.
That's why I hate talking about this stuff enough, because he always just poo-poos it. He's like, why are we even worrying about this? What is this? What are we doing?
We do this all the time, and it always works out. Like, I don't. Maybe I am the super positive sunshine bumper, but it always works out. Like Tyler Johnson, Dion Waiters, James Johnson, Ryan Anderson. Like, all this shit works out. We're fine, baby.
If you had been a sunshine pumper, you'd still be at 7. Oh.
No.
All right, let's get into what happened today at the scrimmage. If you guys want to,
at least for like 2 minutes, just so I can gloat.
Schmeathen says way too much calculator talk. Is Tyler a hooper or not?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, duh. Is that in question?
Tyler's a hooper, a rich hooper.
I still don't fully understand what a hooper is, but he's got to be a hooper, right?
A hooper is someone who does like a hezzy and step
it's like
back.
Kyrie Irving, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Somebody who inefficient most of the time.
But has got a lot of swag and sauce.
Yeah, probably doesn't play a lot of defense.
And other S adjectives.
Who got a bigger extension, Jimmy or Kyle or Tyler this season?
Boom, boom.
Okay, no. Show me show me either Troppy Baby or Brady Hawk's Twitter feed, so that I just want to I would just want to have a little.
Did Yurt hit a 3? Is
he hit 2 threes, Al.
Oh my
and then
God!
Bam hit like 3 of them, and they did it together, and it's gonna be amazing, and I'm gonna win money.
In a scrimmage against the. That was like the tweet that the Nets are going to be dangerous this year, and they're playing the Nets. What are we doing? Like, honestly, I hope. I joke and I kid about Yurt, but I hope. I mean, I hope he's hitting threes, and I hope Bam's hitting 3-4 threes a game.
Well, I have good news for you.
Oh no, he's swinging. He's been singing those sweet nothings and those podcasts I've been listening to, both at Locked On and also at 5 Reasons, 5 on 4.
Also in the post game commentary, I saw that Spo said he's going to use both the speed lineup, which because that's all he does. But he also said he's going to do the big lineup.
Whoa!
Big.
I need an alarm sound for that.
Woo!
Yeah, I don't care. Sorry, like when I see it and it looks good, I'll be excited. I'm happy.
Why do you hate Yurt so much?
It's not that I hate Yurt. First of all,
it makes me happy, Brian. That's why.
Mostly is because it makes Christian happy. The second thing,
why? Because he has a bet with Gianni.
No,
it was way before that.
It's just the hyperbole over just guys they sign off the street that look good in summer leagues and scrimmages and preseasons and all kinds. Everyone goes nuts and open runs. At Miami Pro-Am, people go crazy over all this shit. And I just think it's silly. Show it to me in an actual game. People want to call Yurt a stretch 5. He has never shot well from 3 at any stage of his career, his entire life. But we see him hit a couple open threes in summer league, and we're like, oh, he's Brook Lopez now. Come on, let me see it. If I see it in the games, if it's real, I'll be excited. For right now,
Brook Lopez was not Brook Lopez entering the league.
Of course he wasn't. And if his first few years, if you were going to call him a stretch 5 and he couldn't shoot, I'd say you're an idiot for calling him a stretch 5 until he's a stretch 5. Right now, saying Yurt is a stretch 5 just because he's white, that's all we're doing. That's all we're doing is that we saw him hit a couple threes in summer league and he's white. He's a stretch 5.
Well, he's not the only big man that's shooting threes. We got Bam shooting threes finally. And this is Spo's comments after the game. He said after the scrimmage that Bam Adebayo has extended his range. He's really been working on his 3-point shot. Adebayo hit 3 threes in tonight's scrimmage. This is from Anthony Chang.
It's all happening, baby. It's all happening.
I hope.
Alf, the best part is that guess what's tomorrow? A game, a real game.
Okay. I'll be excited if I see something.
You better fucking be. If you're not excited, I'm gonna get excited.
Come on, have you seen Hangover Time? Come on, I will. I get excited for games. Okay.
No, I like the way that you arranged the jerseys back there. It looks nice.
You like that?
Yeah.
I don't have as much wall space in here as I had in my old place.
Better than wall space that had something nice and pretty to look at.
Let's see if I can get something on this side. But yeah, the only thing that really came out of this scrimmage is that it opened up with a Duncan 3. That it just tells you what's coming this year.
Apparently look good too. I mean, it's all working right now. Let's hope.
Throwing alley-oops to Max. Come on, man.
He's some more Bam praise from Spos. This is from 5 Reasons. He said, I don't know about the pull-up 3 necessarily, but that is a rim 3. If you were teaching a young player how to shoot, you would probably do it from the top of the key. You know how often we wanted PJ to shoot from the top of the 3 or top of key?
Listen, I am off. I've been saying for years, I want Bam to attempt 2.5, 3 threes a game. If it happens this year, I will be ecstatic. And then if he can get people to start respecting him from out there, it's going to be amazing.
I have big news for you, Alf.
What?
Bam is a 3.
All right, you're insane.
How can you not? I mean, you got Jovic, you got Yurt. Dude, what are you going to do when you got Bam defending the team's best wing on a regular basis? What is this?
This is Jovic dancing with Oladipo.
I told you guys about Uptown Dale's pants. It makes me uncomfortable.
Where do you think he gets his outfits?
It's a toilet store.
Bah.